What's up, guys? MC Stu here, and today I'm going to go over a project that I took on a month or so ago where I wanted to put together a PC that would cover a large array of games, from stuff that I play myself to stuff that my kids play. So kind of covering the full gambit, and I wanted it obviously to be playable for each of the games. On the lower end, I wanted it to perform very well for Fortnite for the kids, which is a pretty well optimized game. You can play it on mobile, for instance, so that's a pretty easy one to do. A game that I play a lot is Star Citizen, and I wanted to be able to play that. That is a very difficult game for most PCs to run. So I was shooting for at least 30 frames, which doesn't seem like a lot because it's not, but for Star Citizen it is. So I think it's a good test for this PC build. The budget that I had set for myself is that it needed to go or be under $500, and that's what we put together. And I'm going to go over that build today with you guys. To start off the build, I went with the Sama SV02 ATX case. This case for the price point is amazing. Now, I reached out to these guys for a sample and they were kind enough to provide me with one, so I appreciate that. I'm going to give you my honest feedback on it. I was looking at this, and decided on it because of the price point prior to them saying they would provide it to me. I just figured since I was making the video, I'd reach out to them and they agreed. So for $70, what we're getting is that fish tank design where you have the plexiglass on the front and on the sides. It also comes with the ARGB fans. There's 3 of them that are included with this. They have that infinity mirror effect, which I was a little unsure about, but once it came in and I got it turned on, it's really cool. I hadn't seen that in person myself, and they're pretty quiet fans. And 3 is enough, I think, to get it done. If I had a little bit more budget, I would probably add another 3 probably across the top. But in working with this, and when I set it up with the sides off, that those fans are moving a lot of air. So in all the testing that I did, that was a non-issue in terms of heat generation. So what it comes packaged with is plenty to get the job done for you right out of the box. Some of the other features that I like on this is there's basically no screws. It's all kind of snap together compression for the back panel and for the plexiglass on the side and the front. I was a little concerned about that up front, but it is, when I say it's on there, it is on there. That plexiglass on the side, I actually had to use a screwdriver in between. There's a little gap on the back where you can just kind of pry it a bit and it pops right open. The back side was not quite as tight, and I did my best for cable management there. Stuffed it all in, and I had to press that a little bit more, but it did clip all in and was nice and tight. The really nice thing is working on it, so you can take the front and the side of it off, which just gives you a ton of room when you're trying to work on the case, install the motherboard, and that kind of thing. Lots of breathing room, if you will. The only downside that I'm not a super big fan of is the entire bottom of it is it's kind of a mesh material, and it looks good, but depending on the lighting, it can light up basically the stuff that's down underneath, and that can be seen through the bottom of the case depending on how you route everything. It's really a non-issue if you take the time and pay attention to that when you're routing all your cables. If there's anything lighter colored that kind of lights up, you could also cover that stuff if you wanted to. So again, for this price point, that wasn't a deal breaker for me, and I am very happy with the way the case looks, the functionality of it, and the overall quality for under $70. Very nice case. Now, in order to achieve the price point that I wanted, there are some used items that I used in this instance here. So what I have up on the screen is a deal that I found, and I started this build about a month and a half ago, and I found this listing here, which is a B450 gigabyte motherboard. It's their basic entry level. This is going to be on the AM4 platform. It came packaged with the processor, which is a 3600 Ryzen 5. And I went with this processor. I was looking at the 2700X, which has a few more cores in it. The clock speeds are slightly lower, but this particular processor has 32 megs of the L3 cache in it. So for the gaming, it seems to do quite a bit better. Now, I actually already have a 2700X and have used it for years. It's a good processor as well. You can pick that up for slightly cheaper standalone than you could for this package. And I found that Star Citizen, for instance, it relies a lot more on the CPU and I think takes a little bit more advantage of those extra cores. And so I got slightly better performance out of that. But all the other test and benchmark tests that I did put this chip far ahead. The bundle that I purchased here also included the stock cooler, which I replaced, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. So this deal was $110 basically, plus the shipping, which is just a smoking deal. Now I realize this is a month later. This combo is still available, but I realize when you watch this, it may not be available. So I went out and just priced these components individually, and you're looking at around $55 for this processor and about $50 if you went with the 2700X. And the motherboard you can find all day on eBay for $65 to $75. I'll have some links down in the description for all of these items as well. But I did find a really good deal on this, and so I wanted to make sure it was repeatable for you guys on this particular part of the build. Now, I did replace the stock cooler that this came with, and I went with the Superflower cooler. These guys provided this to me as well. I reached out to them, and they were kind enough to send me a sample. I've utilized these guys' products for power supplies quite a bit in the past on my main build, and the product is good quality. I personally kind of like the logo and the way that they go about doing some of their lighting on especially their coolers, but they make a very, very good quality product, and in this instance for a price point that is very, very competitive. They're known more so for their power supplies, but they do make the heat sinks as well as fans as well. So this is my first experience with the heatsink side of it, and I've ran this computer through quite a few tests and gaming on it and actually using it for about a month now. It's very, very quiet. I run a IO water system in my main PC, and this is much quieter than that. Now, I know that, you know, the actual block doesn't really make much noise, but the comparison is really the heatsink or the radiator on my water-cooled system. There's 3 fans that blow through that, and they create, I don't want to say a lot of noise, but it's more noise. And the point is that I may be moving my main PC over to something, you know, similar to this for that noise reduction. Because I'm just finding that I'm getting the same kind of performance in terms of cooling, and it's only 1 fan to keep it cool depending on, you know, the particular model you go with. But this one looks great. It goes with the theme of the build, and for under 30 bucks, it was a really good deal. Definitely worth picking up. For the memory, I went with Timetech. This is a brand that I've used quite a few times in the past for mainly hard drives, SSD, or MVNE. I always get that. I always say that wrong. But the M.2 drives, and good quality stuff for a very, very fair price. I had reached out to these guys after settling on this memory. I wanted something that looked really cool, was quality, and would obviously meet the minimum requirements that I wanted. So this processor will handle up to the 3200 megahertz. It's DDR4, and I got 2 sticks of 16 gigs, so a total of 32 gigs of memory for this. The memory that I got is the black color. They don't currently have the black color in stock for this particular kit for the 32 gigs. But here it is, and you'll see some video here of the way that it lights up. So it lights up across the top and on the front in these spots here. It looks really, really nice. Very clean looking, nice and thin. It's a matte kind of black color. I'm really, really thrilled about the way that this memory turned out from a look standpoint, and obviously it performs as advertised. So big shout out to Timetech for giving me a kit of these in order to use in this video. Great stuff. It looks excellent and obviously performs as it should. For the power supply, I went with a Superflower because, again, I'm using that in all of my PCs, the one behind me and the one that I'm utilizing right now. They make an excellent product. There are cheaper power supplies that you can get, but this is one of those things where, you know, you want to make sure that you're getting a reputable brand. You don't want to get something that's no name. If this goes, the rest of the computer can potentially go. So I wanted a brand that I could trust and that I had experience with, and so that trust was based on that experience. So I reached out to these guys when I and talked to them about the heatsink, and they were inclined to provide me with a sample for this. So I went with this is a bronze rated, a 550 watt power supply, comes with a 5-year warranty. Again, I think the first one I bought was probably 3 or 4 years ago. For my main PC, it's 1,000 watt, and no problems with it, nice and quiet, and couldn't be happier with it. So when they said yes to this and to providing me with the cooler for the CPU, I was super thrilled because I really, really enjoy the product. In fact, the case on the PC behind me is also a Super Flower product. So excellent, excellent brand. It doesn't hurt if you have the extra budget to always go up higher. I kind of went with the bare minimum here because I was trying to make sure I had enough money to get all the parts that I needed to make sure that I could stay under that $500 mark. And so if you do have the extra budget, this is one place where I would suggest, spending a couple extra dollars and getting a power supply that's going to have a higher wattage rating on it. It gives you more, availability to upgrade over time your CPU or your GPU, which is, a big deal. So something to keep in mind if you have a couple extra dollars to use on that. All right. Lastly, we have, or not lastly, this is second to last. I went with the Timetech NVMe and got it out right that time. I went with the 512 SSD. This is a Gen 3. I've used these in multiple computers, like I said earlier in the past, and solid product, no issues, reputable brand. We picked this up for $35 off Amazon with free shipping. And again, I'll have links for all of these items that I used down in the description. But put this in, loaded Windows on it, and we were off to the races with no issues whatsoever. This stuff's pretty, straightforward. I'm not a big fan of using no-name kind of stuff. So anytime I can use a brand that I've used in the past or, is a reputable brand, it's worth paying a couple extra bucks just so you don't have to deal with the headache of potentially having issues and those kinds of things. Now, apart from the CPU, your GPU is going to be one of the most crucial things in your build, and the prices for GPUs vary wildly. And so I went back and forth of some of the stuff I have in my boneyard, or if picking up something used or new, and kind of went all over the place. Now, what I got was a very, very good deal. This is not something that you're going to be able to repeat just on demand. So if you are looking to repeat it in the same kind of way and get the same thing, you're going to have to be patient, looking through eBay. I found mine on OfferUp. Facebook is another good place where I saw quite a few good deals. But what I ended up settling on is the AMD 5700 XT. This has 8 gigs of memory and is a quality card. I have the same one in this PC here, and I went that route. So I was also looking at doing like a 1660 Super or any of those variants. I also looked at the 5600 AMD, but I wanted to have 8 gigs. Now in the Boneyard, I have a 580, an RX 580 and an RX 570, which I did test in this build, and it did fairly well until it came to pushing it with something like Star Citizen, where it got it done, but it took a lot longer for all the shaders to load and those kinds of things. They do have 8 gigs and is certainly worth getting if you need to scale that budget down a little bit. That'll get you off in gaming, having a good time, but it's something that you would want to upgrade going forward. You can pick those up from anywhere between $50 to $70 all day long, either one of those. The 580 is more readily available, and I found the price was actually lower on that than the 570. And the 580 is going to be slightly better than what you get out of the 570. So there's just another kind of choice. I was able to pick up the A Sapphire 5700 XT with the 8 gigs, and I was able to pick that up for right at just under $100, $95. I did have to do a little wheeling and dealing, and I was looking for a couple weeks. So do keep that in mind, that those deals are out there, and you can get very good deals like that, but you're going to have to take your time and look for it. Other options would be if you wanted to go something older but has a lot of power, you would need a slightly bigger power supply, but like a 1080, or if you could find yourself like a 2060 or 2070. Those would also be both, good options that wouldn't put you far outside of that $500 budget. So let's go ahead and take a look at getting the computer put together, and then we'll take a look at the performance and how it did once it was done.
Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway. And in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go. You got a mind, but even that could change. You could flip the gray matter like some batter in your brain. That's why I say, fake it till you make it A. And if you play that game, then you just might make a change. Rearrange all the bad to okay. Take the worst thoughts saying, turn them to a game. Take the best thoughts saying, put them on display. On repeat in your brain till you're feeling no more pain. Never slow yourself down, you can do some more. Push past all the pain and you'll find a door. Open it up.
Super happy with the way that the build turned out. Looks amazing, but is it going to perform? So let's take a look at some of the benchmark tests that I did. So I ran Haven. I have it actually going in the background right now with a benchmark. I ran that on a stress test for about 4 hours just to make sure everything was running good. No issues there. So let's take a look at some of the results from these, and then we'll also take a look at some in-game performance. We can see it actually operating in real life scenario, if you will. First test I ran is the Haven benchmark 4.0. We had a FPS of 211 with minimum at 48 and a maximum at 47. So I'm assuming the FPS on the top is the average. Let me know down in the comments. I'm not super familiar with this program. I just run it generally for hours at a time to make sure if my PC is going to crash, if it's working properly. So more of a stress test. But the overall score that it gave it was 5,314. It looked decent the whole time. There's no stuttering or anything like that. And so I'm going to call that a pass. And again, this was mainly used for the stress testing. So I ran it for about 3 hours plus and didn't have any kind of problems, crashes, or anything like that. So that looked good. Next, I ran Cinebench, and this is Cinebench 24, so it's the latest version. This got a score of 530 PTS. Again, I'm not super familiar with these programs, but I do know that the previous version, 23, the scoring system was different. So when I was looking at 530, I was like, that's really low compared to scores that I've seen for other CPUs that are in the thousands. And that's because the scoring system in it is different. So on my main PC that I'm using right now, I have a 7800 X3D, and that gets around 1200 on this same test here. So pretty decent. When I looked it up online, this is basically the averages that you're going to get from the this particular processor. 3600 Ryzen 5. So this is running properly, not getting any kind of bottlenecks or anything like that. So another test I like to run on all of my PCs is this NovaBench software. It's something that I've used for a long time, and for me, it gives me a good comparison between PCs that I've used in the past and are currently using. So for myself, this is a good software for that kind of a comparison. I don't know that it's super detailed or as good as some of the other benchmarking softwares out there, but it's super easy to use. And again, because I've used it for so long on probably, 20 computers, when I pull a score from this, it gives me a very good idea of how good the computer is essentially. So at 2404, that's pretty good. It's about 500 above all my kids' computers, and they don't complain. They they play their games without any kind of issues there. Compared to the computer that I'm currently using, which is a AM5 platform, so memory is going to be faster. It's one of the 3DX chips that it has in it, CPUs, and the graphics card costs twice what this entire build does. So it's obviously going to be quite a bit higher. But for my purposes and being able to run the games on the low end, Fortnite, and being able to run Star Citizen, which is just a beast of a game, I think this is going to get it done. So let's take a look at some of the gameplay and look at what kind of frames and performance we actually got in reality here. First game I tested is Fortnite. Like I said, this is a very, very optimized game. It can run on pretty much anything. Now you can adjust the settings. I'm running it on performance mode here and was getting anywhere between 150 to 200 frames per second. I was using the capture capability on the graphics card, so I don't know if that hurt that a little bit. I was getting a little bit more before, but still hitting close to 200 is pretty good. I did run it also on epic settings, which I don't have a recording of, and that was getting in between 60 and 90 frames per second with no stuttering or any kind of issues. So like I said, this game can really run on pretty much anything. If you're a big Fortnite player, then obviously this is going to be more than enough, even for someone that's being competitive about the game. Next, I ran Star Citizen to see what kind of nightmare it would be, and to my surprise, it was playable. Now, I was getting frames on average of around 30, which for Star Citizen is not terrible. My main gaming PC that I use, I'll get around 60 frames. I do use VSync, so it locks it at 60. With that turned off, I can get 70 to 80, which is really high, but again, it's a very, very good computer. I've played Star Citizen for years with computers that are actually less than what this budget build is, but as the game's developed over time, it's not gotten more optimized. In a lot of ways, it's somewhat gotten worse. But I don't want to get sidetracked with is Star Citizen a scam or not. It's just a good test to see, is your computer going to melt down when you go and play it. So I was really surprised to be getting an average of 30 frames. That was also with using the built-in transcoder encoder on the AMD card. Which I was surprised that didn't seem like it really affected the frames from when I had tested it prior, and the game is definitely playable. And then most of what I did, actually all of what I did in these shots that I'm showing you now, are on ground, which is generally going to be a lot more demanding once you get out into open space, things like that. It's a lot less demanding in comparison. There was a couple times where it spiked up to like 40, 50 frames a second, which was pretty surprising to me. And again, I'm not saying, hey, this computer is awesome because it's doing 30 frames. I am saying it's awesome because it's doing 30 frames in Star Citizen. In any other game, that wouldn't really be acceptable. But for the state of Star Citizen and where it's at and what it takes to run it being completely unoptimized, and given the graphic quality and stuff in the game, 30 frames is good, and it's more than playable for the type of game that it is currently. So very surprised with how well that turned out. I did find the first time I ran it, it was very, very janky. It took some time to get shaders all loaded in. It's another optimization issue with the game. That probably took a good 15-20 minutes before all of that loaded in completely, and the game got smooth, and I wasn't getting page tearing and stuttering. After that all happened, it was smooth, as you can see in the recording that I have here. Overall, I am pretty pumped about what I was able to put together for under $500. Grand total came in at $494, so we only had about $5 to $6 to spare there. I did pick up a key for, and this is included in the price, a key for Windows 10. I think it was G2G is where I picked it up, and I paid $10 for that, and then I upgraded it for free to Windows 11. So all in all, out the door, under 500. There was one part in the build that I had laying around, and it was the extension power cable for the motherboard. It was white, and I threw that in just because I like the way that it looks, but it is not necessary for the build or for any kind of performance. I just had it, so I threw it in. If you do like that and you wanted it, I'll put a link down in the description as well. It actually came in a pack with cords for the GPU and for the secondary motherboard plug that's up in the top left, but I did not use those were being utilized on another PC. I think that kit ran like $20 or something like that. So again, anything from something easy to run like Fortnite to something that can be another nightmare for PCs to run like Star Citizen, this computer can do it, and all for under $500. So now I just got to figure out what I'm going to do with the PC. I got quite a few in the office here, and maybe one of my kids can do some chores for a few months and earn it, or I don't know. Let me know down in the description. What should I do with the PC? If you have questions on the build, suggestions, anything like that, I am all ears and would appreciate it if you leave me those comments. If it was helpful, please ring the bell, hit that sub button. That helps me out quite a bit, and that would be awesome. That covers it all, guys. I hope you enjoyed and it was helpful. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you.